We're thrilled to have you with us today for a story that will grip your heart and leave you in awe of the quiet strength that defines true honor. Picture a small, dimly lit bar on the edge of a quiet American town, where the air is thick with the scent of old wood, spilled beer, and faded memories. It's a Saturday night like any other, until a group of rowdy bikers storms in, their laughter loud and their presence menacing. At the center of this storm is Bill, an 85-year-old former Marine sergeant, quietly wiping down tables, a man whose past is etched in the faded USMC tattoo on his forearm. But when one biker unleashes a vicious punch, sending blood trickling down Bill's cheek, the bar falls silent in shock. And what happens just 30 minutes later transforms this moment of cruelty into a powerful lesson of courage and legacy. Before we dive deeper into this incredible tale, we'd love for you to join our community, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications to never miss a story like this. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one and can't wait to hear what you think about this unforgettable moment. Now, let's step into the heart of that small town bar and witness a story of resilience, family, and honor that will stay with you long after the last word is spoken. The scene unfolds in a weathered bar that has stood for decades on the outskirts of a sleepy American town, a place where the streets are lined with old oak trees and the neon signs of small businesses flicker in the dusk. The paint on the bar's wooden sign is chipped, the windows fogged with age, and the door creaks every time someone enters or leaves, as if groaning under the weight of countless stories told within its walls. Inside, the atmosphere is a blend of nostalgia and grit, the air carrying the faint scent of cigar smoke that lingers despite years of smoking bans, mingling with the aroma of fried food and cheap beer. This is a sanctuary for locals, a place where old men play cards in the corner, their hands steady despite the years, where young couples share booths, their laughter rising above the low hum of country music from a dusty jukebox, and where the past is never far from the present. The bartender, a woman named Marlene with silver hair and a sharp wit, pours drinks with the efficiency of someone who's seen it all, her eyes scanning the room for trouble, even as she banters with regulars. On this particular Saturday night, the bar is alive with its usual crowd, a mix of familiar faces and the occasional stranger passing through, each person carrying their own burdens and joys into this small island of familiarity. At the center of this unassuming scene is Bill, a man whose quiet presence belies a lifetime of extraordinary sacrifice. Bill is 85 years old, but he moves with a dignity that commands a subtle respect, his back straight despite the weight of age, his hands steady as they grip a worn rag to wipe down tables, his face lined with the deep grooves of time, holds eyes that are clouded a bit by years, but still sharp, still alert, as if always scanning for something just beyond the horizon. On his right forearm, barely visible under the rolled-up sleeve of his faded flannel shirt, is a tattoo, USMC. The ink is blurred by time, the edges softened, but the meaning is unmistakable to anyone who recognizes it. Bill is a former Marine sergeant, a veteran of wars most in this bar only know from history books or grainy documentaries. He fought in the frozen hell of Korea, endured the jungles of Vietnam, saw things no one should have to see, and lost brothers he still mourns in the quiet hours of the night. Every Saturday, without fail, Bill comes to this bar. Not for the drinks, he rarely has more than a single beer, sipped slowly over the course of an evening, but for the routine, for the sense of connection to a world that sometimes feels like it's moving on without him. He comes to remember his wife, who passed away 5 years ago, whose laughter still echoes in his memory every time he straightens a chair or wipes down a sticky table. This bar was their place once, a spot where they'd share quiet moments after his return from war, where they'd dream of a future together. And now, it's his way of keeping her close, of holding on to a piece of the life they built. Most people here know him, or at least know of him. They know he's a Marine. They know he's tough, and they know he's kind. A gentle giant who speaks little but carries a weight of wisdom in his silence. Tonight, as always, Bill moves quietly through the bar, his old rag in hand, clearing away empty glasses and wiping down surfaces with a methodical care that speaks of a life shaped by discipline. He nods to the regulars, exchanges a word or two with Marlene about the weather or the night's crowd, and offers a gentle smile to anyone who meets his gaze. His presence a comforting constant in this ever-changing world. But tonight, the usual piece of his ritual is about to be shattered in a way no one could have predicted. Just after 9 o'clock, the door swings open with a creak, and a group of 5 bikers storms in. Their arrival a jarring intrusion into the bar's familiar rhythm. They wear leather jackets adorned with patches and skulls, their heavy boots thudding on the wooden floor, their laughter loud and abrasive as they push their way to the bar. They order shots, toss insults at each other and anyone nearby, and challenge glances at anyone who dares to look their way. Their presence immediately shifting the atmosphere from cozy to tense. The regulars watch them with wary eyes, the easy camaraderie of the evening giving way to a subtle undercurrent of unease. Hands tightening around beer bottles, conversations dropping to hushed tones. Marlene narrows her eyes, but keeps pouring drinks, knowing trouble when she sees it, but hoping it passes without incident. Bill, however, doesn't pay them much attention at first. He's seen their kind before. Men who use bravado to mask insecurity, who mistake intimidation for respect, and he's long past being rattled by such displays. He moves to a table near the bikers, quietly clearing away empty glasses and wiping down the surface, his focus on his task, his demeanor calm and unassuming. One of the bikers, a big man with a thick beard and a snake tattoo winding up his neck, leans back in his chair and sneers as Bill works nearby. "Hey, old man," he calls out, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear, cutting through the low hum of the bar like a blade. "You miss a spot." The words are laced with mockery, a cheap jab meant to draw laughter from his friends, who oblige with snickers and jeers. Bill looks at him, his expression calm, unflinching, a quiet strength in his weathered face that betrays no hint of irritation or fear. He nods once, wipes the spot the biker pointed to with a slow, deliberate motion, and moves on to the next table, his silence a subtle rebuke to the taunt. But the biker isn't satisfied, his ego bruised by Bill's lack of reaction. He stands up, towering over the older man, blocking his path with a menacing bulk. "I said, you miss a spot," he repeats, his voice colder now, his eyes narrowing as he seeks to assert dominance over someone he perceives as weak. Bill meets his gaze, his own voice steady, carrying the weight of a lifetime of facing down far greater threats. "I got it, son. No need to make a fuss." The word son lands like a quiet challenge, not meant to provoke but to remind, a subtle assertion of experience over arrogance. The biker's face darkens, his friends egging him on with more laughter, their taunts growing louder, feeding off the tension, without warning, fueled by a mix of alcohol and wounded pride. The big man draws back his fist and punches Bill square in the face. The blow lands with a sickening thud, echoing in the suddenly silent bar, and Bill staggers backward, blood trickling from his nose and down his cheek, staining the collar of his flannel shirt. The bar falls deathly quiet. Glasses freeze halfway to lips. Conversations die mid-sentence, and every eye is on Bill and the biker, the air thick with shock and fear. For a moment, no one moves, the weight of the violence hanging heavy, a violation of the unspoken code of this place where everyone, no matter their story, is supposed to feel safe. The biker puffs out his chest, reveling in the fear he's created. His friends laughing nervously now, their bravado a thin mask over the unease even they feel at the sight of an old man bleeding. Bill doesn't retaliate. He doesn't shout or curse. He doesn't even flinch beyond the initial stagger. He simply straightens, wipes the blood from his face with the back of his hand, the crimson stark against his weathered skin, and pulls out his old flip phone from his pocket. His hands shake just a little, not from fear, but from age and the sting of the blow. The tremor a quiet testament to the years he's carried. He dials a number from memory, waits for the line to connect, and speaks in a low, steady voice that belies the pain he must feel. "Richard, it's Dad. I need you." He hangs up, tucks the phone back into his pocket with a slow, deliberate motion, and walks toward the door, his steps measured, his dignity intact despite the blood still seeping from his nose. The biker calls after him, hurling another insult, his voice a mix of triumph and uncertainty now, as if sensing that this isn't the end. Bill ignores him, the door creaking shut behind him as he steps out into the cool night air, leaving the bar in a stunned hush. Outside, the street is quiet, the only sound the distant hum of traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Bill sits on a weathered wooden bench beneath the flickering light of a street lamp, its weak glow casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. He dabs at his nose with a handkerchief pulled from his pocket, the white cloth staining a deep crimson as he presses it to his face, the pain throbbing in time with his heartbeat. He takes a slow, steadying breath, the cool air a small relief against the heat of the injury, and dials another number, this one to an old friend, a fellow Marine who now runs a security company in town. His voice is calm, almost matter-of-fact, as he asks him to ensure the bar's security cameras have captured everything, a precaution born of a lifetime of knowing the importance of evidence, of covering every angle. There's a steel beneath his words, a resolve that has carried him through far worse than a barroom punch, through ambushes in frozen hills, through nights of grief, through the slow ache of losing his wife. Bill sits back, his eyes distant, lost in thought as he waits, the street lamp flickering above him like a sentinel keeping watch. He closes his eyes for a moment and remembers another night, long ago, in a jungle halfway around the world, the sound of gunfire ringing in his ears, the smell of smoke choking his lungs, the weight of a rifle in his hands as he fought to keep his squad alive. He remembers the friends he lost, the promises he made to never forget them, the woman he came home to who helped him heal. He remembers that he survived, that he endured, and that he's still here, still standing, even if it's just on a quiet street outside a bar where he was struck for no reason at all. Inside the bar, the atmosphere slowly creeps back to life, though the tension lingers like a storm cloud that hasn't quite passed. The bikers order another round, their laughter forced now, a little too loud, as if trying to drown out the unease that even they feel after such a blatant act of cruelty. The regulars keep their heads down, ashamed of their silence but relieved that the trouble seems to have passed, their conversations muted, their eyes avoiding the spot where Bill stood just moments ago. Marlene wipes down the bar with a rag, her hands shaking slightly, her lips pressed into a thin line. She wishes she'd done something, said something, stood up for Bill, who's been a fixture here for years. But fear is a powerful thing, and the biker's menace was palpable. The bartender's assistant, a college kid named Joey, peeks out from behind the counter where he ducked during the altercation, his face pale, unsure if he should call the police or just hope the night ends without further incident. The jukebox plays on, a mournful country tune about lost love and long roads, its melody a stark contrast to the undercurrent of regret that now permeates the room. 30 minutes pass, the night outside growing deeper. The only sound on the street, the occasional bark of a dog or the distant hum of a passing car. Bill remains on the bench, his handkerchief now soaked with blood, his breathing steady despite the ache in his face. He doesn't flinch, doesn't complain, just waits with the patience of a man who has faced far longer waits under far worse conditions, waiting for dawn in a foxhole, waiting for news of a fallen friend, waiting for the pain of loss to dull. Then, in the distance, headlights appear, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. 3 military vehicles and a Humvee roll down the street, their engines rumbling with a low, authoritative growl, their presence unmistakable, even in the quiet of the night. They pull up in front of the bar, the headlights illuminating the faded sign above the door and the cracked pavement below, casting stark shadows across Bill's weathered face. The doors of the vehicles open with precision, and a group of men and women in uniform step out, their boots hitting the ground in unison, their movements sharp and disciplined. At their head is Colonel Richard Harlow, Bill's son, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his late 40s who carries himself with the confidence of someone who has led others through danger and brought them home. His uniform is immaculate, the medals on his chest gleaming in the light, his eyes steely with purpose as he scans the street. He spots his father on the bench, and a flicker of emotion, concern, anger, resolve crosses his otherwise composed face. "Dad," he says, his voice soft but firm, a single word carrying a lifetime of love and duty. Bill stands, straightens his jacket with a slow, deliberate motion, and meets his son's gaze. A moment of silent understanding passing between them. A bond forged in shared sacrifice and unspoken pride. Richard turns to his team, a squad of special operations soldiers, and gives a few quiet orders, his tone clipped and professional, before leading them toward the bar's entrance. Inside, the atmosphere shifts instantly as the door creaks open and Richard steps in, his boots echoing on the wooden floor with a sound that commands attention. The bikers go silent mid-laugh, their bravado evaporating in the presence of the soldiers, their hands tightening around their drinks as they exchange uneasy glances. The regulars look up, hope flickering in their eyes. A collective breath held as they sense the tide turning. Marlene breathes a sigh of relief, her shoulders relaxing for the first time all night. A small, grateful smile tugging at her lips as she recognizes Richard from Bill's stories. The soldiers file in behind their commander, their uniforms a stark contrast to the casual chaos of the bar, their presence a wall of authority that fills the room. Richard approaches the bar, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel as he addresses Marlene directly. "Marlene, could you please play back the security footage from earlier?" His tone leaves no room for hesitation, and Marlene nods quickly, her hands steady now as she moves to the small office behind the counter to retrieve the feed. She pulls up the footage on the big screen mounted on the wall, a grainy but clear video that plays for all to see. The images unfold in undeniable clarity. The moment the biker punched Bill, the force of the blow sending the old man staggering, the blood trickling down his face, the stunned silence of the patrons as fear held them in place. No one can look away. The weight of the violence replayed in stark detail, a mirror to the shame and shock that still lingers in the room. The bikers shift uncomfortably, their earlier arrogance replaced by a growing dread, as the reality of their actions is laid bare for all to witness. Richard turns to the group of bikers, his eyes cold, his voice steady but laced with a quiet fury that cuts deeper than any shout. "You see that man on the screen? That's my father. He's a Marine. He's a hero. He's given more for this country than you could ever imagine. He fought in wars you've only read about, lost friends you'll never know, and came home to build a life despite it all. And you attacked him for no reason, in a place where he should feel safe." His words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of truth, each syllable a condemnation of the biker's cruelty and a tribute to Bill's sacrifice. The biker who threw the punch looks away, his face pale, sweat beading on his forehead as the gravity of his actions and the consequences sinks in. His friends shift in their seats, their earlier confidence gone, their heads bowed as if trying to disappear into the shadows of the bar. Richard signals to the local police, who have arrived outside, their flashing lights visible through the bar's foggy windows. "I want this man arrested for assault, and I want statements from everyone who saw what happened. No one leaves until this is resolved." His tone is final, a commander's order that brooks no argument. The police move in, their boots heavy on the floor as they approach the biker, handcuffing him with a metallic click that echoes in the now silent room. He's led out of the bar, his head down, his earlier swagger replaced by a defeated slump, while his friends remain silent, knowing the tide has turned irrevocably against them. Outside, as the police handle the arrest, the tension that gripped the bar begins to break, replaced by a profound sense of resolution. Richard steps out into the cool night air, his soldiers forming a line behind him, their presence a silent testament to the strength of duty and family. He stands at attention before his father, who remains on the bench, watching with a mix of surprise and quiet pride. Richard salutes Bill, a crisp, formal gesture that carries a lifetime of respect, his eyes meeting his father's with an unspoken promise of protection. Bill, moved by the gesture, returns the salute, his hand steady despite the blood still staining his cheek. a flicker of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Richard steps forward, breaking the formality, and embraces his father in a strong, heartfelt hug. A moment that bridges the years, the battles, and the unspoken love between them. The soldiers line up and salute Bill one by one, each gesture a mark of honor for a man who has given so much. The regulars, who have slowly filtered outside to witness the scene, join the line, their faces filled with newfound respect, some offering their own nods or quiet words of thanks. Locals who heard the commotion gather at the edge of the street, their expressions a mix of awe and admiration, as they watch this display of reverence for an old man they've known for years, but perhaps never truly seen. No one says much, but in that silence, honor is restored, a community reminded of the quiet heroes who walk among them. A week later, the bar looks a little different, though its creaky door and foggy windows remain the same. A new sign hangs above the entrance, freshly painted and proudly displayed, built by a warrior, protected by his legacy. The words are a tribute, a declaration, a promise to remember what happened here and the man at the center of it. Bill returns to his usual spot inside, cloth in hand, moving through the tables with the same quiet diligence he always has. But this time, as he wipes down a surface or clears away a glass, something has changed. Not in him, but in the air around him. The entire bar rises to greet him, patrons standing to salute, some offering a handshake, others simply nodding in quiet gratitude as he passes by. Marlene, behind the counter, pours him a beer on the house, her smile warm and genuine, her eyes shining with a respect that needs no words. There are no more jeers, no more threats, no more averted gazes, only a deep, abiding respect and a sense of community strengthened by the courage and dignity of one old Marine. Bill looks around, his eyes misty but proud, taking in the faces of those who now see him not just as the quiet man who cleans tables, but as a hero whose story has touched them all. He knows his wife would be proud, too, her memory lingering in the warmth of this moment, in the laughter and camaraderie that once again fills this place. He sits down at his usual corner table, the echoes of the past blending with the warmth of the present, knowing that his legacy will live on, not just in the sign above the door, but in the hearts of everyone who witnessed what true honor looks like. And as the night settles in, Bill smiles quietly to himself. The pain in his cheek long faded, replaced by something stronger, the unbreakable bond of family, the gratitude of a community, and the enduring respect owed to those who serve. But the story doesn't end there. Not by a long shot. Because what happened in this small bar on that Saturday night ripples far beyond its walls, touching lives and hearts in ways no one could have foreseen. In the days that follow, word of the incident spreads through the town like wildfire, carried by whispers in coffee shops, conversations at the local diner, and posts on community social media pages. People talk about the old Marine who stood his ground without raising a fist, about the son who came to his aid with a squad of soldiers, about the soldiers who showed what it means to honor the past with unwavering loyalty. The local newspaper runs a front-page story, complete with a grainy photo of Bill and Richard standing side by side outside the bar. The new sign visible above their heads, its bold letters, a testament to a legacy reclaimed. The story goes viral online, shared by veterans groups, military families, and everyday folks across the country, each share accompanied by comments of admiration, outrage at the biker's actions, and gratitude for Bill's service. Strangers begin to stop by the bar in the weeks that follow, drawn by the story they've read or heard, eager to shake Bill's hand, to thank him for his service, to tell him their own stories of sacrifice and loss. Young men and women, inspired by his example, sit with him,